Building data lakes on AWS ClearScale Marketplace offer allows companies to move further faster in the adoption of a data lake, not only with the tools and resources necessary to launch the data lake during the engagement, but it really focuses on day two operations and the ownership, making the ownership of that data lake easier on an ongoing basis post-engagement. Well, what are some reasons folks would use a data lake?
Well, I think it's important to understand that a data lake is a methodology. And there's no one size fits all when it comes to data lakes, whether it's on AWS or elsewhere. And customers are using data lakes to be able to absorb data from their applications and or environment and produce actionable insights and actionable outcomes from that data. And data lakes are interesting in the fact that they can start with all types of data, whether it's object data or database data, and be able to manipulate these data files or data objects or data schemas into a way that either their internal users or external users can query and have actionable insights that ultimately drive the business forward. So I think when we talk about what the benefits are for customers within a data lake, I think it's important to understand what the business objectives are first. And once you understand that, now we can have a data lake and a framework in place that ultimately takes data in, transforms it, and gives it an actionable insight for its customers. And a lot of times I get the question, who is a data lake for? And I think it's becoming standard for organizations of all types, big and small, to have some sort of data lake in their environment because ultimately analytics is pushing the way we do business. And as far as how that is produced, Jeff, do you want to talk about how ClearScale makes that possible for the customers?
Yeah, and that's really what you're talking about is really at the heart of what the Building Data Lakes on AWS ClearScale offering is, because we can show up on day one with an MVP or a minimum viable product data lake for somebody who maybe just has one consumer and one producer with just a little bit of data, but they need to try this idea out to see how it can impact the business. But we can also scale from there to really any size that a customer needs, whether that's a small organization with a lot of data, a large organization with a little data. The offering that we have on the AWS Marketplace really is accessible, and our engineers work with your team to understand what are the business outcomes that you're driving towards with the adoption of a data lake so that we can realize those business outcomes with that Marketplace offering. So what do you get out of the Building Data Lakes on AWS ClearScale Marketplace offering? At the end, you're going to have a fully functional data lake where data, like Anthony was talking about, through your organization gets aggregated to a single place. And we can do this in a minimum viable product way with, let's say you have a single data producer and a single data consumer, or if you have multiple data producers and multiple data consumers, we're able to deliver at the end of the project what you need in terms of the landscape of data that you have within your company. So it's really meant in terms of the deliverables at the end. While we can show up on day one and deploy a minimum viable product and have a very prescriptive way that we do that, it's really an offering that's meant to work with the customer, as you were saying, of all sizes, to put together deliverables at the end of that engagement that give them the fully functioning data lake that they need, whether that's an MVP or ready for production full scale.
Yeah, and I just want to add something on that. When we deliver for our customers, just as you said, we want to empower them to be able to manage and learn the solution as well. And so while we're delivering this minimum viable product, these customers are able to not only manage it from an operation standpoint, but also be able to innovate for their own environment and for their own applications to be able to use what we're delivering in a way that grows exponentially bigger and more valuable to the business.